Hey, everyone, and welcome back. I don't have topics that I'm going to cover. I'll just tell you a few of them, but there's a reason for that today, Kelly, and why is that?
Y'all are lucky that the show is going on because I almost spider monkeyed and scratched out Jimothy's eyeballs.
She did.
Because we already recorded this. This is our take 2 of this because someone did not press the record button.
I would be that person, and I will say that we had an hour of the best crime you've ever heard in your life.
It was great.
It was really good, and like Kelly said, I never hit the record button for the audio, so it was just our mouths moving. You wouldn't have known what we were saying, and I figured you wanted the audio in addition to the video. So quickly, before we get into just a few of the topics I'm going to mention, I do want to mention that we play this entire thing commercial-free because I've had several people ask me, do we have a commercial-free version? We do. We upload that to our individual Patreons. And not only do we upload a video commercial-free edition, we also show pictures of everything we're talking about, like the news. So as you're watching it, you'll see that when we talk about that particular crime, we'll have a picture of maybe the lineup photo for the person or the booking photo or whatever. So check it out. Definitely worth the cost of admission. And we'll get into the topics for today. We're going to talk about a North Carolina teacher who was killed by an intruder while she was on the phone with 911. Very tragic story there out of Raleigh, North Carolina. We're also going to talk about a Kentucky woman who was charged with fetal homicide after allegedly self-induced abortion via an abortion pill. Well, Kelly's going to bring you that story. We're going to talk about a 93-year-old man who tragically, fatally shoots his 86-year-old wife, who he was married to for some 60-plus years. We're going to talk about, of course, Nicolás Maduro dominating the news. We're going to give you our thoughts on it. It's not going to be politically motivated. It's just going to give you the facts as we know them. Or say them. So let's get into it for this edition for the new year, the first one we put out this year of Crime Wire Weekly. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
Happy New Year, Kelly.
Happy freaking New Year, Jim.
It feels like the second episode of the new year.
Deja vu.
Like deja vu. So we'll just jump right into it, and I'm going to bring you to Raleigh, North Carolina, and a beloved science teacher at a school called Ravenscroft School in Raleigh was tragically killed during a violent home invasion. This occurred early this past Saturday morning. Now, the attack unfolded while she was desperately pleading for help on the phone with 911 dispatchers. Zoe Welsh, who was 57, called emergency services around 6:30 a.m. This was on July 3rd to report that an intruder had broken into her home. While still connected and speaking to operators, reportedly begging for help or screaming, the suspect began assaulting her. This, according to Raleigh police. Officers arrived minutes later, and they found Welsh suffering from severe life-threatening injuries. And despite immediate medical efforts and a transport to the hospital, she sadly succumbed to her wounds. Police quickly located and arrested 36-year-old Ryan Camacho nearby, and they charged him with murder and felony burglary. And Camacho, who has a lengthy criminal history in North Carolina, dating all the way back to 2005, and was recently released from prison after serving time for a firearm-related offense.
Of course
he appeared in court, January 5th, just a couple of days after this incident, and court records indicated he faced potential involuntary commitment proceedings weeks prior to this incident. Now, Welsh was described by former students and colleagues as passionate, caring. She was an educator with over 20 years of experience, and she leaves behind just a grieving community there in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'll tell you something about Raleigh. It's a really nice place to live. I have a very good friend that lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they are not, it's not the place where you would become accustomed to things like this occurring, especially in the way of home evasions. So when I looked into this particular incident, because what sparked my interest was when it mentioned that he was just recently in court for involuntary commitment proceedings. I wanted to dig a little deeper into his record to see what his past
I'd be
like.
curious to know what it is.
Very curious. In 2019, he pleaded guilty to discharging a firearm into an occupied property in Wake County.
So that's an occupied property, meaning that people were there.
Yep.
But no attempted murder charge or anything like that? Awesome.
No, and maybe initially it was that, and they, you know how they plead things down. So he did serve some time for that now. He served approximately 5 years and 7 months in prison. He was paroled in 2024, but get this. Between his actual conviction and his parole in 2021, he decided he had enough of prison and he escaped. Got away for a few days.
That's the red flag.
That's definitely
the red
a big
flag.
one.
The dude hasn't learned a lesson at all. He's just willing to skip out.
He also had multiple misdemeanor convictions, including 7 in November of 2024 for just November of 2024 for offenses such as breaking and entering, larceny, injury to real estate property. He also served 3 months from April to July of 2025 for violating post-release supervision in Wake County. And more recent incidents even involve charges of breaking and entering and stealing pillows in August of 2025, injury to property. Many of those were dismissed or drastically reduced. And what was kind of the kicker in all this for me was in December of 2025, a separate breaking and entering case was dismissed after Camacho was found, get this, incapable of proceeding due to mental health concerns.
Yeah.
Prosecutors sought involuntary commitment on that case, but a judge denied it.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, we the people should be looking right back down the barrel at the judge, because you've got a prosecutor here who, to their credit, recognized that this guy's no good. I mean, he's and I'm sorry, he's crazy, but you cannot be a danger to society. I mean, that's the judge's job. That there's no one else. There's no one else to make a decision here. And the issue I have too is that he's broken the rules of probation or parole. Excuse me. He was paroled out. So there's rules to that. He's either not checking in or he failed a drug test or something along those lines. So there's zero accountability for anything that he's done. And then to know that the dude broke in and stole pillows, to me, just like boom, like a light bulb just goes on and says, okay, something is wrong here, because he's got to be criminally insane. He's willing to hurt people, but he stole pillows, which means there's no rhyme or reason to what he's doing. And there's no predictability to him.
Right.
And now a woman paid the ultimate price, a good woman.
That's right. And you're seeing this more and more. And we have a story we're going to cover later on. Very similar circumstances with these mental health issues in the, I'm not just going to say in the United States. I'm sure it's a global thing, but we cover it a lot here, where these people with some major mental health problems are getting slapped on the wrist or completely released. Because the states in which they're charged with the crime seemingly don't know what to do with them.
You know what?
A problem.
It makes me think about drug addiction. Okay, if love alone could save a drug addict, we would never have a problem.
Right.
Okay, but there's hard choices that have to be made here, and we can feel bad for him. We can have sympathy, and we can have empathy, and we can have every type of pathy out there is for somebody. But when it comes to them shooting into occupied homes, breaking into homes, running away from the prison, smart enough to get out and to escape, and then continuing down this path of just absolute destruction. And so they're saying that the dispatch is now released, and we listened to it off camera. And basically, it sounds like that he broke a front window. He comes in and he beat her to death or hit her with something because she had a severe hemorrhage to the left side of her head. And this was so bad that the dispatcher was even telling his units that were responding, look, there was screaming, and now there's a silent line. I'll hold the channel for you, which means like 1033 the network, or hold it emergency traffic only, because it was so bad on the other end of the line.
Yeah, they made a comment on it. We can hear background noise.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Prayers go out to her family, everybody that knew and loved her. And we got to get a hold on this problem with these guys with rap sheets as long as my arm.
And judges need to do their jobs.
Released.
That judge specifically, you need to do your job That was ridiculous. All right, now let's move on to Kentucky. Now, this is a big case right now. A 35-year-old woman from Wolfe County, Kentucky, faces serious criminal charges, including first-degree fetal homicide, which is a capital offense, potentially meaning she could get the death penalty, after allegedly ordering abortion medication online, self-inducing an abortion, and then burying the fetal remains in her backyard. So Melissa Spencer was arrested following a report from staff at a United clinic in Campton, where she was seeking medical care and disclosed that she had terminated her pregnancy at home. And according to the state police, Spencer admitted to investigators that she ordered the abortion pills online because the pregnancy resulted from an affair that she was having, and she didn't want her boyfriend to discover it. So she took the medication on December 26th, reportedly, and then delivered the fetus the following day. She described the fetus as a, quote, developed male infant, and told police she wrapped the remains in a white rag, placed them in a light bulb box. Some reports online said that she had wrapped it in Christmas paper and then buried it in a shallow grave behind her home. Troopers obtained a search warrant and recovered the remains, which were sent for autopsy to determine the exact gestational age. Now, she's been charged with first-degree fetal homicide, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. She's being held at the Three Forks Regional Jail in Beattyville. Now, Kentucky enforces a near total abortion ban since overturning Roe v. Wade and permitting the procedures only if the mother's life is
in danger.
Jeopardy. And distribution of abortion pills are supposed to be heavily restricted, though self-managed abortions are not explicitly criminalized for the pregnant person in most interpretations. However, fetal homicide laws can apply in such cases, potentially leading to severe penalties, including life imprisonment or the death penalty, but their investigation is still ongoing. Now, here's the thing. And the first time we recorded this, which you didn't get to hear, I had some reservations about this, saying that I just have a very hard time believing that they would go after the death penalty for this. I think that we need to look at this, take the emotion out of it, look at this from a legal standpoint. I mean, obviously there's emotions to it. I saw Jim's face kind of swirled up.
Well, but you said going after the death penalty for it.
Yeah, I don't think that should or would go forward. I didn't think that they would go, because they said it's a potentially capital case in that state. I just didn't see that would be happening. And I had questions about, well, wait a minute, it could be argued in court. If we don't look at this emotionally, obviously don't have an affair and don't order abortion pills online. Those are give-me's, right? But in a court of law, I just thought, a doctor sent her this pill, from what I understand. And so my question was, I just don't, if you're taking something that a doctor prescribed to you, laws aside, I was just curious, well, what was she supposed to do with the baby once it was terminated? If she were in a state where this was legal, what was she supposed to do?
Okay. Well, she wasn't in a state where this was illegal. And I used an example. I'm going to use an example here. Yeah. Marijuana. Mm-hmm. Okay. There are states where marijuana is legal. There are states where it's not. Louisiana can't smoke marijuana unless you have a medical reason for doing so. However, in California, you can go buy it in a drugstore. Big difference.
You can toke it up.
Right. But if I'm sitting in here and a cop busts in and I'm smoking me a joint and I say, hey, it's legal in California and that's where I bought it, he's not going to care. I'm still going to get charged with smoking marijuana and convicted of it. My stance on this case, and as Kelly said, we've already recorded this, so it's imperative that I highlight this part. Mm-hmm. My stance in this case, number one, I'm pro-life. I don't believe you should ever abort a baby. That is my personal opinion that I'm entitled to. Now, that being said, in this case, this pill was sent from a place in which it's legal to take that sort of drug to a place in which it is not legal to take that sort of drug. So I am not, and I was going to bat on this hard, I am not of the belief that should have been dismissed. And when I say dismissed, we had an update on that case since we had recorded where, in fact, the fetal homicide charge was dropped.
Yes. And I agree. I agree with that decision because I think it's really hard I think in the court of law, it would be hard. I'm not talking about, yes, obviously her taking the pill resulted in the death of the infant. I have no question there whatsoever. But I just think that if a doctor wrote the prescription, they would get caught up in a court of law in that specific component of her charges. Now, the improper disposal of the baby and all the other things from the state that she was in, I get it. Because, I mean, like you said, she went on the dark web too, or she had the intent of getting the pill to do something illegal in her state. But I think where she really messed up is that once she delivered this fetus, you can't bury it in your backyard.
Yeah, and that's why they still kept the charge for, what was the second charge?
Yeah, so there was the first-degree fetal homicide, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. So I agree with the abuse of a corpse in that she just buried a human being in her backyard, and I agree with the tampering with the physical evidence because that is tampering.
Right.
The first-degree fetal homicide, I think they would have gotten caught up with the fact of how she had obtained the pill. And it seems like they agreed.
And they would have had to extradite that person there, the person who wrote the prescription. I personally feel like it should be illegal to write a prescription to a place in which it's legal. So if he knows that's her address and he sends that to her, knowingly sending her something illegal, he should be in trouble for that. That's my opinion.
But they look at
Same
it,
as if I ship a drug from California to Louisiana, like marijuana.
But if you're in role reversal, if you're in a state that says you can do this and you do it, then which state are you going to be bound to the law by? And I think it's the same argument here in that if it's not illegal for him to mail that to another state,
I
as
would
far
love
as the
to
law,
try this in court.
We are in the court of public opinion.
Right.
But either way, I just think that she has made a total, immoral decision here to have the affair and then to try to hide it in this manner. The
affair I don't care about, the whatever.
Yeah.
The killing of the baby, which that pill did, which she took, I have a big problem with.
Yeah. And I don't think, looking at this either, that this baby is going to be a full-term baby by any stretch of the imagination, because if you could fit the fetus in a, not that this matters, I'm just trying to figure out the gestational age. If you could fit it in a light bulb box, she must have been, not full-term, so she didn't deliver like a fully developed child.
What's the point of that?
I'm just trying to guess the gestational age because they said
arms, legs, a heartbeat, a brain, or
I'm just saying they didn't tell us.
baby.
They didn't tell us, so I'm just trying to guess based off of what I know.
Yeah, well, it was certainly. I mean, you would have to be 4 or 5 months old to develop fully as a baby from an embryo. So
yeah, I mean they're calling it a fetus, not an embryo.
A fetus,
so that's
right.
probably our key there too.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on. Let's go to Venezuela via New York. And President Nicolás Maduro was captured by special forces during a pre-dawn raid. This was on January 3rd of 2026. He's been flown to the United States to face longstanding federal charges. And I wanted to get to this, and I want to highlight this this isn't a political thing. This isn't a political, the reason I'm bringing this up isn't a Republican/Democrat type thing. I'm just hearing a lot of things out there that are inaccurate. So I'm going to say my piece on it. Kelly will say her piece on it, and people can agree or disagree. Yeah. The 63-year-old leader, along with his wife, Celia Flores, appeared in a Manhattan federal court. This was on Monday, but pleaded not guilty to serious allegations, including narco-terrorism and drug trafficking. Maduro defiantly proclaimed himself, "I am still the president of my country." I don't know if that's what he sounds like, but that's what that's my interpretation of it. And he described his detention as illegal. The operation, authorized by President Donald Trump, involved a large-scale airstrike on Caracas and targeted strikes against alleged drug-related assets, resulting in at least 40 deaths, including Venezuela and Cuban security personnel. And U.S. forces have been building pressure with naval blockades prior to the strikes. Now, that's all of that news article that I'm going to read, and we're just going to talk about this for a minute, and I'm going to tell you a few facts that I'm sure most of you know, and one of them is that he was not the president any longer of Venezuela.
Right.
He had been
ousted,
and he just kind of stayed in there and used his drug ties to do that. I will say that this guy was a drug harboring terrorist in his own way. I don't know if he's actually considered a terrorist, but narco-terrorism is terrorism, and that's one of the things he was charged with. And he had an existing indictment.
Yeah.
From the federal government prior to the Trump administration. So
right. Previous administration wanted him too. Wasn't there like a $50 million bounty or something on his head?
Yeah.
So when people are up in arms about this, from a criminal justice standpoint, from a narco-terrorism standpoint, I mean, we've been blowing boats up. He was assisting and in his power allowing
drugs that are killing young Americans.
Yeah. And so
fentanyl.
Yeah.
Tons of it.
Look around. Everyone you know has been affected by the drugs in our country, whether you yourself or people you know or people that you love. And to me, I'm waving the red, white, and blue right now and saying, great, if this stops drugs from coming into our country, then, kudos for the operation. And the operation was sick, right?
Yeah, it really was. The United States really showed their I guess dominancy when it comes to a lot of things. Look, they were able to actually implant malware into the internet system and the electrical system in the entire city and shut all the lights off. So that's pretty slick.
I know. And I imagine as far as movies go, I love movies about military and I love movies that are like rough and tough and fight and, whatever. Yeah. And I just imagine some, he's law enforcement, but I imagine it with glasses and at his computer and how badass you can shut down all the lights and everything in another country. Yeah. That is some freaking op stuff right there.
That's some big time stuff. And some of the equipment that they went in with these helos, y'all, that this was a protected area. It was actually, he lived on a military base. So he lived in a big house on a military base and it was surrounded by aircraft equipment, et cetera. And the helicopters we used have such evasive countermeasures on those helicopters that these missiles were flying, and we were just using these countermeasures, and they had no idea where these helicopters were. We were in and out in a very limited amount of time, and these people were so surprised. Get this, y'all. Maduro pops up out of his bed because his wife says, "I think I hear helicopters." He pops up out of his bed, and boom, right there in front of him is, say, 10 Delta Force guys.
That is so badass.
And he's in the nude, y'all. Totally in the nude. This guy is naked in his bed.
I don't want to be
balls
arrested,
flying.
and I don't want to be naked either when they come to get me.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say at that point? It's like, can I put my pants on?
Hey, bro.
You
Watch my
come in the middle of the night. It ain't my fault you saying what you saying.
Look, I've seen enough forensic files that my underwear is always nice and my pajamas match. I'm going to look good in my crime scene photos.
and so they did allow him to put on a sweatsuit because when he got in there's a very famous picture that y'all are probably seeing right now of him on the helicopter upon his capture, and he has a sweatsuit on. So
we are so decent. I love that.
Yeah.
You can put your pants on and then get your ass in the chopper.
That's right.
And listen, people I think too are sometimes I feel like a lot of people miss the forest for the trees. Okay, so what if the president right now that we have, what if he hadn't been elected this go round and just refused to leave office? What if he would have just stayed? People would have been completely up in arms. We would have burned our own country down, right? People would have went just crazy. So let's just flip the script now. You're in Venezuela. He was ousted. And he refused to leave, yet nobody came in to stop him. Why? Because that's how narco-terrorism works. You are afraid. The little people that are just running around starving to death, impoverished, they have no way to fight this. There's nothing that they can do. And he is going to be protected also by the very people that are making all that money off of him being in power.
Correct.
You have to ask yourself, why is this? And when people are calling this an abduction, that's asinine. This wasn't an extraction. They went in, they got someone who had criminal charges that he was to be taken and he was to face it for. And it was federal. I mean, it was there was other countries that have acknowledged that he was not even
there
the
was
president.
50 different countries that would not acknowledge the fact that he was president. And it was a national, had nothing to do with the United States.
Yeah.
It was a international committee that determined that he had like 5 votes, let's say, in that election versus a million for the other person. It was just a landslide. And it was actually a female that had won that election. Her name, unfortunately, escapes my mind right now. But she had to go into hiding, and now she lives in a completely different country because of his threats that he wanted to kill her over
So
that.
this is who was taken and is now going to face these charges, and yet people are somehow upset about that? Like, what in the world? Those
people that don't understand history.
The Venezuelan people deserve better.
100%.
They deserve to be able to make money and to be able to speak out and not fear that terrorism under the drug rule will somehow get them killed.
Yes.
That the elected president, rightfully elected president, has to flee the country she was elected to lead.
Yeah.
Like, really think about this.
Yeah, and I'll say one more thing, and then we'll get off this topic.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend who is from Venezuela. He was his family lived there not only during Maduro's regime, if you will, but prior to that with the person that he took over for. My friend was from a very wealthy family there. They owned several paint coatings manufacturers. Think like Sherwin-Williams, but it was a different brand. And they owned these stores there, several of them. They had good money. And basically Maduro's people went in there and said, you're not going to make this kind of money anymore. Everything you make, we're going to get like 80% of that.
So
you're going to get to
mob.
keep 20%. Yeah,
That's
basically.
the mob. What happened here? You had to pay out a percentage for protection, or you would.
I mean, there was no
lose.
war.
There's no
That's
winning.
just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so they left. They actually they're legal citizens here, but they came on visas, the entire family, and it was to escape that regime. And I can tell you, he will be the first person to say he hates Maduro and always had. There are 8 million other people that are Venezuelans that hate Maduro. How do I know that? Because they all left when he took over.
Yeah, our hearts need to be with these people, and rather arguing, whether the U.S. should have gotten involved. We need to think about those people and that they have the opportunity now, theoretically, to improve their lives.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think
what
if
it's
you're
about.
not Venezuelan, you don't really have a right to even judge for the most part. I mean, as Americans, we can look at this like Kelly and I are doing now, and the obvious is to say this was not a good guy.
Yeah.
And the world is better off with him not leading a country. I think that's clear. But Venezuelans are the ones you need to listen to, and they're all flying American flags in Venezuela right now by their own accord. Yeah. They want to do it. Yeah. And so that tells me all I need to know.
Get out of here. All right. Let's go to Indiana. Speaking of drugs, okay? This one's crazy. All right. Indiana State Police made a significant drug bust over the weekend. So I got to ask you, Jim, if you hear a significant drug bust, what do you think?
I mean, I'm thinking a significant one, maybe $100,000 worth of weed or something.
Yeah, all right. How about 309 pounds of cocaine?
Dang.
The booger sugar. 309 pounds of it with an estimated street value of $7 million during a routine traffic stop.
That's a lot.
What? All right. So 2 California men were arrested and they're facing serious charges in connection with the discovery. So this was on January the 3rd. It was around 1:30 p.m. when a state trooper pulled over a blue International semi-tractor trailer in Putnam County. And the stop was actually initiated as part of the Department of Transportation's compliance inspection. So this was just for my words got stuck. Inspection.
Yeah.
So during the initial conversations with the driver, the trooper observed indicators of criminal activity. Now, what does that mean, guys? I would say they're probably sweating. They're probably nervous. They're probably just kind of like not acting right, and for obvious reasons. And so that prompted them to deploy a canine unit. So they brought in the dogs. The dog gave a positive alert for the presence of illegal drugs, which gave them the probable cause to then search the vehicle. Now, inside the truck's sleeper berth, which I've never heard sleeper berth.
It's like the sleeping area.
Well, no shit, Sherlock, but a berth?
Well,
that's a weird word. I don't like it. In the back, y'all. In the back where people sleep. Authorities uncovered the large quantity of cocaine hidden under a blanket. That is the security measures they took to hide their cocaine.
300 pounds of cocaine, and that's as far as you took it.
That's pretty serious.
Nothing under there.
Right. Why look there? All right, so the semi was en route to Joplin, Missouri, or from Joplin, Missouri to Richmond, Indiana, and the driver had claimed that the vehicle was empty, heading to go pick up a load. Now, the arrested individuals were identified as 25-year-old Gurpreet Singh from Fresno, California, and 30-year-old Jasveer Singh from Santa Clara, California. Now, guess what? Both of them were taken into custody without incident and brought to the jail. However, although they were both charged with dealing narcotics, and that was a level 2 felony under their law, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement showed up and had placed deportation holds on the men due to prior pending removal procedures. They were not supposed to even be here. And they're transporting $7 million in cocaine across the country. So the ISP superintendent, Anthony Scott, praised the operation and said, this is only going to make our communities better. He gave this whole statement about that. And so they haven't released further details on the origin of the drugs or the potential connections to larger networks. But, I mean, come on. This didn't just appear out of nowhere.
No, they're not growing it on a farm in California.
Yeah. So those guys better watch their backs.
Yeah, and, it's a perfect follow-up to the story we just did with Maduro, because this is the kind of shit we're trying to stop right here.
Right.
Drug trafficking to that level. And like you said, there's someone somewhere that's missing $7 million worth of cocaine right now. And he knows that he or she that they're not getting that back. So these guys probably want to stay their ass in jail. They don't want to, I mean, $7 million, a lot of money, even to people with a lot of money.
They're probably praying to ICE, please get me out of here.
Yeah.
Please take me out of here.
Leave us in jail. We want life. Give us life in prison.
Give us life, or just shoot us out into the ocean somewhere, because somebody's coming after us. That's terrible, man.
And shocking that it's out of Indiana and was headed. You don't think of Indiana as your drug capital of the world, right?
Indiana?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing there but cornfields. They must be smoking. Somewhere in Indiana, they must be snorting the yayo a little bit too much. $7 million under a blanket. Unbelievable. Good story.
A $2.50 blanket from the Walmart.
Well, let's bring it back home, and we're going to head to Marion, Louisiana. And if you're curious about that, that's in North Louisiana. It is almost to the state line, and it is in what's known as Union Parish, Louisiana. So a bizarre incident would be putting it mildly for the story I'm about to tell you. A 41-year-old woman, she was found swimming. She was found swimming in the nude.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I said.
If you got it, flaunt it, baby.
Yeah, and it was in a neighbor's pond, which is kind of yuck. Ew. But yeah, I mean, swim in a pool nude, that's one thing. A pond?
I mean, a gator might chomp you.
A gator or algae, man. Ugh. Ooh. Anyway, she's swimming in this pond nude. Somebody calls the cops, and I'll break the story down for you. Her name is Erin Sutton. She was taken into custody on January 6th of 2026 following an incident that actually began in November of 2025. Now, according to the Union Parish Sheriff's Office, deputies responded to a trespassing complaint at a residence in Marion, where the homeowner reported their neighbor screaming in the driveway and noted she had previously warned her about entering the property. So this must not be her first time. Upon arrival, deputies discovered Sutton swimming naked in the complainant's pond. When ordered to exit the water, Sutton initially refused, telling authorities she was, quote, trying to be a mermaid. I've heard that before.
Right?
After multiple commands, she eventually complied. Due to the cold November temperatures, deputies did provide her with a blanket. I bet that's why. It could have been hot as hell. They'd have been like, put this blanket on, girl. They called emergency medical services for an evaluation, and as a deputy attempted to escort her inside a nearby residence to warm up, it was cold out there, Sutton allegedly charged the officer, and that led to a physical struggle. So you got the picture a deputy fighting a nude woman, right?
Hey, look, if you know anything about law enforcement, you know that naked means fight. If they are naked, you are going to fight them.
Well, reports indicated that Sutton resisted arrest vigorously, and they actually had to deploy a taser. Oh, my God. And get this, the taser had no effect. So they tased
don't work
her.
On mermaids.
She proceeded to kick and punch deputies, which resulted in assaults to law enforcement personnel charges. And eventually they did restrain her. Now, both Kelly and I know a lot of police officers. And of course, when something like this happens, I promise you, in Marion, they probably only had about three deputies on duty that night. All three of them were at that scene. Yeah, oh yeah, you got to see this. Eventually, she got just a slew of charges placed against her, and she's in some trouble. Who knew a mermaid would get arrested?
I mean,
but we have it in Louisiana.
She obviously is not a mermaid because she kicked at the deputies, and that wouldn't work because you're a fish. You would have a tail. So her theory is plumb busted. And you ever gotten your children when they were little out of the bathtub, and they're slippery little suckers. Mm-hmm. And then they try to fight you, and you like, I can't imagine a grown woman.
Slipping her skinny dipping in the lake.
Hey.
You ever skinny dip before?
Not that
that was too much hesitation.
Not that I remember.
Not that you want to tell on the air.
No, not that I remember. Look, I ain't afraid to jump in. Yeah, I don't want to. I
did that one time in a hotel pool.
In a hotel pool?
Hell yeah, I was drunk as hell. Me and a bunch of buddies come back about 3 o'clock. Look, it was, I mean, we're like, I don't know, 19 at the time. Mm-hmm. We were staying at like a freaking Days Inn or something. I mean, it wasn't like we were at, a
resort with kids everywhere.
Yeah. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, walking back to the room, and somebody dared me. I dare you to just jump in there butt ass naked. I said, hey, you ain't got to tell me twice.
You were a mermaid.
Cannonball. Yeah.
Well, I do know that I was out in the ocean one time with a whole audience at the frickin' sand, and I got flipped by a wave that was horrendously huge. And whenever I finally came up, my top came off. And my husband's cousin, he's gay. He didn't care. But when he saw me topless, he went, oh, my. Oh, my.
Kelly.
Let's get weird, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, that happens a lot, too. I used to have a friend who was a lifeguard at, like, Blue Bayou, which is a big water park slides here. Oh, all the time. He said tops fly off constantly.
Yeah. And
he always volunteered to be the lifeguard at the slide.
And I think my voice has gone up an octave with the wedgies you get. Ooh, whenever you come down to the bottom, my goodness. Yeah. Take your life into your own hands. All right, let's move on from that to Fremont, California. Now, this is so sad in a multitude of ways, but a 93-year-old man has been charged with murder after allegedly shooting and killing his 86-year-old wife in their vehicle before immediately calling 911 to... Hey everyone, Crime Wire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search Crime Wire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.